Buenas tardes, familia. Good afternoon. I'm Diana Caba, Senior Director for Economic Empowerment of the Hispanic Federation. Welcome to Day 2 of the 2020 Hispanic Education Summit. Yesterday, we kicked off this virtual national convening and we're joined by hundreds of community leaders, parents, students, policymakers, and education experts committed to advancing best practices and needed reforms in our education system. Today, we also have a full agenda. There will be a plenary session focused on college and career success, state-specific panel discussions addressing education equity gaps, cafecito chats or casual conversations focused on mental health and multilingual learners, special remarks from the United States Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer, social mixers and networking opportunities, and finally, this session, Digital Workforce for Latinos, training pedagogy to meet the skill demands of the tech workforce. I told you, a jam-packed day. And definitely, we want to hear from you. I'd like to remind folks that during these sessions, attendees will be able to chat, but also grab the mic and join us on stage to ask questions. You can also participate in these discussions by sharing on Twitter using the handle @HispanicFed and the hashtag HispanicEd. Again, that's @HispanicFed and hashtag HispanicEd. And with that, let's roll up our sleeves and get to it. So kicking off Day 2 of the Hispanic Education Summit, focusing on strengthening pathways to post-secondary success and careers for Latinx students, is Digital Workforce for Latinos, training pedagogy to meet the skills demand of the tech workforce. The rapid change of technology skills in the workplace has disrupted the lecture-style classroom with project-based learning models. In January of 2017, the New York Times released an article titled, "A New Kind of Tech Job Emphasizes Skills, Not a College Degree," depicting the notion that earning a college degree is not the only route to a tech career. As a result, technology bootcamp training programs have risen to meet the technical competencies needed in the tech sector. Consequently, the notion of no college education has also driven contextualized workforce training programs that emphasizes skills over credentials. This workshop will focus on the curriculum development of learning essential digital literacy skills among Latinos, the approach to the classroom project-based learning, and the use of online resources that upskill digital proficiencies to meet workforce demands. So please allow me the pleasure to introduce my wonderful colleague, Miguel Pacheco, our Digital Workforce Development Manager, who will be leading the workshop today. Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you, Diana, and hi to everyone out there. Hope you're doing well and you're fine, and bienvenidos, like Diana said. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay, Diana?
Yes.
Oh, great. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon as we discuss upskilling and skills in the tech workforce. Again, my name is Miguel Pacheco. I am the Digital Workforce Manager at the Hispanic Federation, and I work in partnership with Diana and everyone at the Hispanic Federation on different technology opportunities. And we're going to be focusing on one in particular this afternoon, which is our Latino Digital Accelerator Grant, which I'm sure Diana will speak more a little bit as we get started. So let me go ahead and share my PowerPoint that we prepared for you guys today. Just give me a couple of seconds. Great. Can you all see, Diana, can you see the PowerPoint? Okay, great. Thank you so much. So let's get started on today's workshop. So our agenda for today is some introductions of what I do, what Diana Caba does. We'll be talking about the curriculum development as mentioned in the description. We'll be looking at assessment, design. We'll be looking at developments, and then we'll also hear some highlights from our current organizations that are working on curriculum development. And then I'll review a couple of resources that are very effective around this upskilling and digital skill world that we're speaking of a lot about. So again, my name is Miguel Pacheco. I am the Digital Workforce Development Manager at the Hispanic Federation. My colleague here is Diana Caba. I'm not sure if Diana, you want to say a couple of lines on what you do at the Hispanic Federation?
Sure. Just want to just share real briefly economic empowerment at the Hispanic Federation. Our portfolio really focuses on increasing the financial security of Latino families. So we take an approach, ranging from meeting basic needs through hunger relief, ensuring financial resiliency, supporting small businesses, and focusing on supporting our Latino-led, Latino-serving nonprofits that are engaged in workforce development to meet the increasing digital skills that are needed to make sure that our Latino community is ready for. We keep on saying the workforce of tomorrow, but it really is the workforce of today. And I think that's a good segue for the next slide. But Miguel, if you wanted to mention
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit about what my background is. So I've worked about 10 plus years in workforce development, specifically in out of school youth, both in the nonprofit sector and higher learning. So I spent a couple of months and years at the City University of New York developing curriculum for technology programs. So my kind of contextualized skill, it's around creating pipelines of opportunities in digital skilling. I hear a little echo, and I think it might be coming from your mic, or is it me?
I'll, I'll mute, I'll mute myself when I'm not talking.
Okay, okay, sorry, thanks. So as I was saying, so I've spent about 10 plus years in workforce development and creating programs that, one, again, it's provides the basic digital skill, fundamental skills, and also advanced digital skills. So I've done some curriculum development around coding, programming. I've also done some curriculum development around some basic digital skills. So that's a little bit of my background. And now here I'm at the Hispanic Federation, which is really a good segue to talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of digital skilling at the Hispanic Federation. And for this, I'll leave it to my colleague, Diana Caba, to explain more about this program and what this grant is. And then we'll dive into the curriculum development process.
Thank you, Miguel. So yes, just really briefly before we get into the meat of this presentation, just to let you know about our recent work in workforce development, especially digital skilling. So HF, we received a grant through google.org to really see how we can better assess the needs of our organizations that are working in this space. So we are working with a number of member agencies, but also partners across the country. And as you can see here briefly, we have some of those states listed across 10 states across the United States and Puerto Rico, 24 organizations total, with the idea that we are supporting these organizations that engage in workforce development at some level. Some are already doing digital skilling, some looking to build into that area. So it's really a combination of providing grants for either funding for curriculum, funding for equipment, funding for staff, really assessing those needs, putting together a plan. And you will see now, as a result of this initiative, we've been, working with some of these grantees to put together a curriculum, and that's why, especially, we're providing this workshop to show the steps that you need to take in order to make sure that the curriculum is reflecting the skills that are needed, that are being looked at for tech careers. Even starting from the beginning, even incorporating general workforce development skills and job training, job readiness issues and themes. So again, I don't want to take up too much time on that. I just want to let you know how what we're presenting today is part of a broader project in which it is spanning over the course of a couple of years and will result with a center of excellence in which we will be sharing the findings of our initial assessments of all the groups that we're working with, a white paper, of course, outlining the issues when it comes to digital skilling, the digital gap. What is it that our organizations need in order to provide for our communities, and making sure that we're not left behind, that we are, have a running in these careers in this growing sector. And also to share the curriculum that we're putting together, so that this is not just for the specific organizations that we're working with. This curriculum will be for anyone who wants to delve in and build up their digital skills and or use the curriculum for their programs.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Diana. And with that, it's a good opportunity to speak about what we're doing and how this curriculum development really works, and specifically in the workforce development environment. So I would like to start off by saying that a lot of our grassroots nonprofit organizations do excellent work around the work of job readiness portion. And due to COVID, right, this job readiness portion training has completely changed the way we prepare ourselves for job applications or job interviews or any of those items that we need in order to get an employment, a job, specifically in tech. So when we look at the curriculum development process, for this particular kind of area or sector of workforce development, we're trying to really focus or narrow in on those particular digital skills that will make participants or students self-sufficient, right? So that they can take these skills into beyond the training at that particular nonprofit or any other training that you're attending. So the idea here is to assess first the population that you're serving. So whether it be young adults or maybe adult learners who are getting into the workforce or who are just need that training, that skill set. So what we look at when we look at the assessment piece of curriculum development, it's really diving into the learning outcomes. What are we really focusing on? So this slide here in particular talks about some of those learning outcomes that we found in this particular project, but also is very useful in general for a lot of other trainings that organizations are currently doing. Now we are focusing in Google, using Google platform because there is a lot of variety and a lot of different platforms that we can use for this purpose within the Google Suite platform. So as you can see here, the assessment or the learning outcomes is to learn Google Suite, learn Google Drive, learn Google Doc. And during that process, you're really going to dive into the resume development piece. So what I've done here, when we talk about assessment, what you want to do is you want to narrow down first the learning outcomes, and then you want to get into the training hours and the topic hours. With that in mind, though, I would also like to mention that because of COVID, a lot of these items, you want to start thinking about having it online. And I know that in the past, when we have done curriculum development, we haven't really dived so much into this hybrid model because a lot of the training has been really in class, in person. But today that has changed, right? So we want to make sure that we're thinking how we can make these classrooms or these modules online. So with that, I think Google really offers that platform because you can use all these different platforms on your mobile device, on an iPad, or on a personal computer, or on a laptop. So we're looking at the training hours, right? How much time we're spending on each particular unit. In this case, in this example in front of you, we're spending 37% on Google Suite. We're spending 38% of our time on Google Sheets, and we're doing 25% on soft skill. Now, soft skill, it's really not a digital component. However, there are some items that really align very well with this topic, right? For example, salary negotiation. That can be a form that you can teach it digitally, right? Or even how to do budgets and monthly budgets. And you're not only kind of teaching the student the basic skill of how to manage their finances, but you're also giving them skill sets that they can take into an office job or an entry-level clerical job, right? So the idea here, as we think about assessment and design, we're really thinking about the essential digital skills, like, you know, how to manage, how to use a mouse, how to use the platform, but also we're thinking how they can use this effectively in a given job opportunity, specifically on the entry-level jobs. So next to this training hours, we have the topic hours. So we have the general overview of the main topics, right? These three platforms. And then we'll narrow that down into the topic hours. So here we have communication, resume building, and finance management. So once we have kind of a laid out of this assessment, of course, you'll probably do this collaboratively with your team, thinking about, you know, what is the workforce training, the programs that you're offering. Then you start narrowing down the topic hours, you start narrowing down the training hours, and the platforms that you're going to be using. So once you've kind of narrowed down those design elements, those fundamental elements, or this overview ideas of what you're going to be teaching, then you want to get into the design piece. So you really want to get into the lesson outcomes of each one of these units. You want to get into the time that it will take to teach this. You want to look into the lesson plan development. And then one item that I'm going to spend a lot more time speaking of is this project activity idea. The reason being is that a lot of the curriculum that I've designed in the past, and I think it's moving forward, is what we want to do is give students a lot of project-based learning. So have them create, have them develop. Reason being is because you want to make students be self-sufficient in these items, in these platforms. You want them to learn with you in the classroom, but you also want them to guide themselves on their own when they leave the classroom so they can use this effectively. As we know, resume building, for example, can change in every job application that you are submitting. So you don't want that student or that participant to come back to you every time he or she's going to be submitting an application. Rather, you want that student to do this on their own, study it, analyze it. So this is the idea of project-based learning. So these are kind of like the skill sets that you're really diving into in your classroom with your students. So very important is to have a structure. So what I like to do is when I look at the design elements, once that we figure out the learning outcomes, is try to think about how much time we're spending on each one of these items, what are the key points that we're going to be discussing, and also have some form of instruction timeline. Now, in this example, and I know it's very small, and we will be sending you a link so that you can have the PDF version of this and share with all of you. Excuse me. Is to really have a timeline of what you're going to be teaching, but also I think what's very important is to really think about the projects. As you probably can see here in this example, I've spent 10 minutes on a project of creating an account, 20 minutes to create a Google folder on a drive, 40 minutes to create a resume, right? And this is only unit 1. This is a 2-hour lesson plan. Now, in this particular module, it works for our needs in our Latino Digital Accelerator grant that we're working on, but you can kind of shift this 2 hours to 3 hours and this 4 hours, depending on the population that you are serving and depending on what is the program needs or what is the learning outcomes that you've decided. Of course, one might think, well, everyone knows how to create a Google account, but what I've found is that it's quite surprisingly how many people do it incorrectly or don't use a professional Google account email address, for example. So it's very important to dive into these little topics that I think help a lot of the students to create something that it stands on its own and it's useful in the future. So once we've created these design elements, right, we want to get into kind of the units, right? For this example that we've done at the Latino Digital Accelerator is we've created 8 units. And each one of these units, right, kind of aligns with that particular learning outcome that I spoke of in the beginning. Now, I'll go back here a second just to show you how this works. So this unit 1, which is an introduction, falls into the Google Docs resume building piece. So that is the learning outcome in the end. And there are 3 units, and I'm not going to go through all the units that we've designed, but there are 3 units that focuses on resume building. Then we have units 4, 5, and 7 that focus on finance management using Google Sheets. And then we have units 6 and 8, which focus on communications through salary negotiation and Google Meet. So the development is really thinking about all the units that encapsulates the learning outcomes. And I'm just going to go back here just to show you a little bit about how all this combines together, right? So we have a unit 1 with some key points that we're discussing. And then when we do unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, all the way to the 8 units, we'll follow the same template that you see here, a description, a key points, learning outcomes, instruction timeline. And again, I think one of the things that I should mention a lot here is the project. It's very easy to just teach a classroom with a board, but you want students to really dive into the projects to actually create things in the classroom. I've also added here a link, for example, in this unit that provides more support. So the idea here is that we grab these modules, we give them to our nonprofit organizations who are working in workforce development, and they use these lesson plans, and they're also using these links to provide more support for their training. So as we move forward, I would like to invite some of our grantees who we're currently working on, who we've designed this for in our Latino Digital Accelerator. So I believe we have Amy Marshall from Bridgeport, Caribe. So Amy, if you can just grab the mic. You should be able to see it on the left next to comment. So Diana, are you able to see Amy by any chance? I cannot hear you.
Yes, I saw her here in the list of folks. Let me see if I can get her attention. Oh, there she is.
Okay, there she is. So let me go ahead and.
All right, it's connecting now, Amy.
Okay, great.
So I accept. Oh, okay, there I am. Okay.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Amy. So, Amy is with Bridgeport Caribe Youth Leaders in Connecticut. And Amy, we've designed a couple of modules for your training, for your workforce training. So, can you give us a little breakdown how all this ties into what you're currently doing in terms of workforce development in your organization?
Absolutely, Miguel. And I want to thank you and Diana and everyone at the Hispanic Federation for allowing us to be a part of this today. We had and still have a program, workforce development program for younger individuals that we call Success, which we run in the summer. And Success 2.0, which is what we are calling our digital trainer program, is building upon those modules that we already had set up. And I know, for example, Miguel, that you were just talking about resume building. And so the difference with Success 2.0 for us is that the age range is young adults and also adults, because the current cohort that we have is focused on 18 to 45-year-olds. Now, because we're in the middle of COVID-19, this program is being implemented virtually. So we've had to have an application and an interview process. And that wasn't done to exclude people. It was done to ensure that the cohort had the same range of skills, so that for the learner as well as for the instructors, the achievement gap or their learning gap wasn't too wide, because it's not going to be as simple doing it virtually as if the teacher was in the classroom walking computer to do this instruction. So as you mentioned, we work together to develop the digital curriculum that aligns very closely to what we already had for workforce development. So we're using the G Suite, and it's similar to the other software that many of us have used in the workplace before. And so it also helps people to learn more advanced skills at the same time that they're learning some of their basic skills. So it's a 2-hour instruction block in any given evening. We're running the program at night. And what we've done is an hour is the instructional, kind of what we would consider in the traditional classroom as the theoretical, this is why you need to have a resume, and this is what a resume should look like. Many of the individuals who are participating in this program have not developed a resume before, so they're then applying the skills that they learned about why they need to, but using those immediate digital skills that are being presented to them. So for us, the projected outcome is that through Success 2.0, our learners, our students, will have improved self-sufficiency, self-advocacy, and self-confidence, along with those the increased technology skills, so that with also through the virtual learning platform, the soft skills they're learning will enable them to improve their work environment, moving from an hourly position to a salaried position, therefore improving their lifestyle and their families, and then being able to build a career to move forward. So
I think what's interesting, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Amy, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I think what's interesting is that the modules that we've designed for Bridgeport, specifically, there are 8 modules of 2 hours each. It's a 16-hour total curriculum based out of what I spoke of earlier in terms of the design and the development. But I think what's interesting is you can grab these modules, Amy, right, and you can use them in different areas as your workforce training progresses. So you can do Unit 8, maybe you want to start off with Unit 8, and then get to Unit 3 sometime halfway, depending on where your workforce training program is. Can you speak a little bit more about that piece?
So it is a program in a sense that we can then differentiate the instruction and meet the learning needs. So as the initial cohort starts, the first cohort, and they're doing an assessment, and just because things are numbered 1 to 8, as you're saying, they don't have to go sequentially. If there is a greater need for emphasis on Module 2, then they can spend the extra time there and then less time on modules 3 or 4 based upon the needs of the students that are in the cohort.
That's great. Thank you so much, Amy. And Diana, do you have any questions for Amy? Nope.
I'm looking forward to see how this all plays out and to hear of all the successes.
I know that we've worked very closely with Amy and her team of instructors to develop a curriculum that is effective and works for your environment. Thank you so much, Amy, for that information. So next, we're going to go into another organization that does a little differently work than Bridgeport. And for this, I'm going to invite Vincent Thomas to go ahead and grab the mic. Vincent is from Exodus Transitional Community.
All right, he should be connecting.
Okay. Hi, Vincent. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. So Vincent is part also of this Latino Digital Accelerator and has also been, we've created also a curriculum similar to the one with Bridgeport for Exodus. So Vincent, can you go ahead and tell us what you guys do over there at Exodus?
Hi, everyone. I just want to start off by saying thank you to everyone for allowing us to present on our program and just talk about how the Digital Skills Accelerator has really impacted us as well. So Exodus Transitional Community.
Vincent, could you zoom out a little bit? We can't see your eyes.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a face.
Is that bad?
It's great.
You can go ahead. That's good. Can you hear us?
You can go ahead, Vincent.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that.
It's good right there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So I just wanted to talk briefly about our program here at Exodus. So one of the things to first highlight is the unique programming that we offer here at Exodus. Our primary catchment group is individuals that are justice impacted. And one of the biggest significant divides that we experience when we're trying to place individuals for employment is the significant digital divide that a lot of our participants experience because they're so far removed from just society in general. We have participants that come to enroll in our program that have never even seen a cell phone a lot of times. So to have to even explain the whole dynamic around technology and all the advances in and of itself is a struggle for some of our participants. So during the COVID pandemic, one of the things that we had to shift to was a lot of digitally based training until we were slowly able to phase back in-person programming. And one of the things that's unique about Exodus is the vast majority of even our employees are justice impacted. So almost 85% of our staff is formerly incarcerated that might not have had the level of educational background or technologically based training to be able to do a lot of the work that we do here, just around being able to send out emails, to attach files, to be able to do a Zoom call and conduct like a training via Zoom. So a lot of the aspects of the digital accelerator are things that we can not only incorporate in training our participants, but to also scaffold the skill level of our existing staff as well. There's a great many things as it pertains to like scalability in terms of just functionality online, as well as being able to do some of the added program services that we didn't initially have that this particular grant has allowed us to do. One particular thing that I wanted to just highlight also is that we've adapted a lot of our curriculum to kind of fall in line with the digital accelerator so that when individuals go through our job readiness, it kind of aligns directly towards the digital component that kind of is just an extension of our job readiness. So If we're doing resume development in the job readiness, then it's shifting to how do you work on it in the practical sense in the computer lab. And that really allows us to get a tangible result at the end of modules, as opposed to, okay, we're going to do resume building, and then it's a whole nother week of you having to build on that resume, right? And then the other big piece to it is, with the pandemic, there's been a major shift in the gig economy and ways in which individuals can be self-employable in a lot of ways. So we have individuals that started a delivery service on like Instacart or Uber Eats, and they're able to self-sustain a lot of that employability while they're looking for another opportunity elsewhere.
And I
So,
think
like,
what's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what's
I think
interesting, Exodus,
yeah.
about Exodus is that I think you mentioned it, Vincent, is that you have participants that don't even know how to use a mobile device, right? And then one might think that like going back to what I spoke earlier about creating a Google account, that everyone has it or everyone has used it before, but there's quite a large amount of students and people that are just diving into this currently, especially if you want to get into this gig economy, right, that you're speaking of, right? Because if you're using Uber Eats, or you're using Uber, or you're working for Uber as a driver, or Via, or any of these other platforms, you need to have a mobile device, you need to have an email address, you need to have some form of digital literacy components. And I think that's where the curriculum that we've designed tailors a lot to the resume building workforce, but also gives you that skills that you need in order to dive into these platforms, right? Can you speak more about that self-sufficiency piece? What has been the results about your students learning and where they've gone in terms of?
So yeah, we have individuals that there's a variety of initiatives that we get involved in, and one particular one was a stimulus program geared towards helping individuals that just recently came out of incarceration. And individuals were purchasing items to be able to, like electric bikes, to be able to make deliveries, and whether it's a laptop or a tablet, to be more tech ready for opportunities like that. We have individuals that we ourselves hired in our remote hotel operations that had no kind of technical background, that we had to teach them how to be able to do case notes and how to do Outlook and Excel and PowerPoint, as well as a lot of Google based documents and stuff. And the combination of the accelerator, along with just the initiative of the individuals to learn like a skill that's in a lot of ways very difficult. Like if you're not a relatively technically based individual, like kind of just jumping in fresh into it is not the easiest thing, especially for older populations. That
I was going to say, yeah.
So a lot of the components of the training has been very beneficial for them, and just in also generating this entrepreneurial instinct in a lot of individuals to really be like, hey, there's opportunity out here, except aside from just working for someone. I can be my own boss. I can make my own money. I can make my own hours, and that's a viable option for a lot of individuals. So.
Yeah, and that's this whole notion about self-sufficiency, learning the skills to really not only be useful for you in terms of learning these skill sets, but also useful to find employment, right? That's right. the whole thing. And I think what we've created with Exodus is this 8 modules as well that fits right into that piece of making them self-sufficient. Thank you so much, Vincent, for that information. And we'll be working more closely together. So we'll go ahead into our next slide. Thank you so much, Vincent.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So, and we've heard from 2 organizations that we're currently working for in terms of curriculum development and creating these modules. But I also want to kind of give you some additional resources where you can go to get a lot of these kind of learning these skills that we've been speaking of, right? To be self-sufficient, project-based learning. These are three very popular platforms that I've used in the past, that I'm currently also using, and that I encourage everyone to use. It's the Google Applied Digital Skills, where you can actually have a lot of lessons, a lot of training, a lot of modules that you can pick up. A lot of these lessons in the Google Applied Digital Skills platform, it's between 2 to 4 hours. There are some components that are 9 hours long, but nonetheless, they cover a lot of these basic fundamental digital skills. One of the things that I used this to help us in our curriculum development process was this module in salary negotiation. They have amazing videos and discussions on how this works, and we've shared that with all our grantees, and they're also taking advantage of these platforms. Codecademy is a platform that focuses on learning how to code. So if you're in organizations that are working on, providing skill sets that really lead to high income job opportunities, specifically in tech and coding, there's this notion about learning code on your own. Codecademy has been around for a long time, and I've used it when it first came out. It's a great platform, and you can send your students there to learn how to code if they're interested in pursuing a more dive into career around programming and software development. And then, of course, there's Coursera, a very popular platform that I'm sure all of us have used or have taken some information from in the past. And they offer contextualized skill training. They also offer certifications. Nowadays, when we talk about being more employable or being more attractive to employers, a lot of times you need those skill sets, right? Aside from the fundamentals, you probably need additional credentials, like you can get a Google technical support credential at Coursera with a 6 months training that works very well and puts you in a better place in terms of employment opportunities. So now we want to kind of open up the platform for any questions that you might have. We want to be able to answer questions around the curriculum development process or some of the items that we've discussed here as well. So, Diana, I don't know how we're going to be taking questions. I believe we can use the chat feature or the comment section in front of your screen to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have. I'm happy to answer them. Or maybe you have a question for Diana. We're happy to answer them and give you more information about the curriculum development process.
Yes, folks can add their questions to the chat if they want us to pass the mic. We can do that as well. I do see that we did get one question asking about the grant. Was Hispanic Federation the funder? So the two folks that you heard from organizations that we're working with through this Latino Digital Accelerator, yes, they were funded by us. We received overall funding from Google.org to pursue this accelerator over the course of 2 years. And we put out an RFP for that. And that's how we were able to assemble the cohort that we're working with now. So Amy and Vincent, they're from two organizations, Bridgeport Caribe Youth and Exodus Transitional Community. They are part of this initial cohort. So we have 24 organizations that we're working with, again, with the end goal, not only to support these organizations and learn from the lessons, what are the best practices from these organizations in order, like if other organizations want to do, digital skill programming, workforce development, and with particularly for the Latino community, or they want to know what exactly, is there something different that needs to be done in order to address the needs of this community? We're putting together a center of excellence, like I mentioned previously, which will house a white paper discussing, the landscape on digital skilling, what we're doing with the project, laying that out also in comparison with other communities. And then ultimately this curriculum that Miguel has started working with these groups. We highlighted the groups that we're starting from kind of the beginning, right? The curriculum. So Miguel's already been working that with, I believe, about a handful of groups now. These are only two of our larger group that we're working on. Now, I think it's worth mentioning that out of the 24 organizations that we're working on this particular grant, not all of them are focusing on the fundamental digital skilling. Some are already doing advanced coding, programming, software development piece. So there's a lot of kind of like mixes of combinations that we're kind of diving into as well to prepare. And I think there was one question that I think there are so many students that you hope to put through this process over the next 2 years.
So we're hoping to train over 5,000 plus students over the course of 2 years, and hopefully prepare them for which is what is known as the future of work, but it's really the work of today as opposed to the future of work.
Right. No, absolutely. Like you said, we're working with folks in different, levels, on different levels, but with that end goal, right, of putting together robust findings, robust curriculum, and, other resources that other groups and individuals can take advantage of as well. So, I have my own question, Miguel, for you. I know we're starting with these handful of groups kind of from the beginning, kind of more or less. So what are we going to see moving forward for this curriculum that we're putting together that will be available for the public once this initiative is wrapped up?
Yeah, I think with every curriculum that you design, there's going to be many times where you're going to kind of revisit the modules, revisit the lessons. So what we're hoping the next few months over the course of this year, we'll share this information with everyone to use is learn from what has worked and what has not worked. Maybe there's a unit, a module that is not very effective. Maybe we need to make it more robust. Maybe we need to add more components. Maybe we need to add more units. So the idea is that to work collaboratively with all organizations and learn from them, as well as the training that they're offering, so that we can kind of implement a much better, more robust curriculum in the end of it all. So I think in the next few months, what we do envision is working together, taking notes, revisiting the curriculum again, redeveloping. And this is all part of this development curriculum. And we're all focusing on, again, just preparing people to be self-sufficient. That is the key, right? Through project-based learning.
Yes, excellent. So another question we have here, what is the best way for community college students to partner with workforce training programs? Thank you for that question, because of course, community colleges, public institutions are a huge part of the workforce development ecosystem. I think we all know that. And I know, Miguel, you have experience. You used to work at a community college, right?
Yes. So I think there's many different apprenticeship programs available today. And I think the role of community colleges, as Diana, you mentioned a little bit of, is so important and so valuable today, specifically around contextualized training. There are companies out there that are looking for particular skill sets that they might not necessarily find it in college graduates, but they can go to community colleges, partner up. So I think there's employer partnerships happening a lot at the community college level where you're focusing on contextualized training. I think community colleges are going to play a very important role as we move forward in terms of training, in terms of specifically around digital skilling. There's this whole notion that you don't need a college degree, but I think it makes you more marketable if you do have one, whether it be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or maybe even a master's degree. So I think overall, to answer your question, I think there's a very important role that the community colleges are going to play. And I think apprenticeship program is one end, employer kind of working together, bridging. It's another piece that I think can work very effectively for universities.
Absolutely. I just wanted to add to that. In addition, like Miguel was saying, yes, there are a lot of programs out there that, are helping folks get these skills that, as we quoted earlier, a lot of tech companies are looking for skills more so than degrees. But at the same time, there's a lot of data out there about what your prospects are if you have a degree. So I think the more education you have, the more preparation you have, the more opportunities you're going to have. But connecting through a network, your educational institution is going to increase those chances. And those are also great resources for organizations like ours that are creating these types of programs to see how we can partner. Our network of agencies that we're working with through this initiative, they are all agencies that, while they provide an opportunity for folks that may not be enrolled in the traditional, community college trajectory, there's still a lot of opportunities to overlap. I also host annually a career expo, for example. I partner with a community college to do this. Even it's an event that's open to the community, so it's not just for students. However, it's really like everyone is going to come out winning, right? In this situation, it's a resource the college is providing for the community, for the students. These are organizations that, either direct employers or programs that workforce development programs that are providing a training, but also connection to employment opportunities. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and recognizing that we're all players in the system is really important, and taking advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think also, to kind of dive into further more in terms of economic empowerment, right? It's this economic mobility, moving people from those low income wages into higher income wages. And COVID-19 has definitely exposed how important just basic fundamental digital skills are, right? So there is a lot of work ahead of us to push a lot of people forward. The unemployment rate, I don't know what it is now. It seems like it gets higher every day. So it's so valuable. And I think not only community colleges, but workforce training programs, and specifically like this initiative, 24 organizations across 10 states, we're going to be able to serve a lot of people and hopefully move those folks in terms of economic mobility towards a higher income in the end, and give them the skills to be self-sufficient.
Absolutely. And we have here just a follow-up. What are you finding in terms of challenges? And we have about 2 minutes left. So maybe we can give a quick, just top line challenges, and then we can wrap up with our follow-up information.
Yeah, I think challenges in terms of the curriculum development process is really trying to hit every single piece of this digital fundamental component, right? There's so much that we can offer, but there's so much little time we have in terms of the training. So that's definitely a challenge, because we have a student for, let's say, 20 hours on a program, a workforce program. What can we cover in those 20 hours as opposed to, of a training that has 35 hours? So I think the challenge there is trying to narrow down what kind of works for that student. And this is why I mentioned that the fundamentals is key, because the fundamentals will make that student kind of expose themselves to a wider range of skills so that they can use down the line. So I think that's definitely one challenge. And I think there's a lot more challenges to see as we work together collaboratively with our
And I wanted to just add to that, and challenges sometimes are even as simple as, we had Vincent mention some people haven't used a cell phone. Some people don't have the technology, right, at home, whether it's the connection, the equipment, or they might have the equipment, but they might have to share because there's someone that's being homeschooled. It's these are realities that we're facing, and we're also trying to work with our partners to address that, and not only directly, but on a higher level as well. But we only have about 40 seconds left. So
yeah, and I want to just leave my contact information so you guys can see it. Probably take a snapshot of it. It's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me, or if you have any further questions after this, I'm happy to connect with you and happy to provide further assistance through the Hispanic Federation as we continue to work on this project. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. We also shared a link with the PDF to the presentation. If you were not able to open it, we'll also make sure that our colleagues, the organizers, will be sharing that with you as well. And happy to answer any questions, any follow-up questions, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.